Hey everyone, how's it going? Shuffle's back here with another video, and we have buffs. Lots and lots of buffs. So the balance patch notes have been released. I'm not going to bring them up on the screen. We're going to rip through them really quickly, and I'm going to tell you guys basically what happened to the units, how that affects the game, and where they would move to on the tier list that I just put out. That first screen that I was on, I just wanted to show you guys the RTA team I'm using and my current rank, because I use a lot of these units in RTA and other places in the game, and all the units that got buffed minus I think 2, I use on a regular basis, and I think they're already really good and didn't necessarily need buffs. I'm more curious as to how this is going to change the game in the future. We already know, before we get started actually, we already know that we get ML Angelica. If you guys didn't already know that's coming, you can see her skills and stuff on the Epic 7 YouTube page, where they go over all the units. And we're also getting Renoa, who is a nature healer and is sort of a counter to counter units. Also, the Angelica is a counter to revive units. So we have a counter to Seaside Bellina, and we have a counter to a Vildred, plus any other revive meta is sort of going on right now. So we already have counters to those two incoming. We'll have to see how they actually play in game versus how they play theoretically. Theoretically, on paper, they look good, but we'll have to see in game. Now, let's move to the tier list and talk about how this kind of adds to moving toward a different sense of balance in the game. My most recent tier list. Sorry, did I say tier list the first time? I meant balance patch. But we do want more of a sense of balance in the game. If you guys didn't see my most recent video where I talked about the tier list, I had Seaside Bellina, A Vildred, and Ravi, ML Ravi, in the like triple S plus area where I think that they're not balanced and they need to fix them. So we already talked about 2 of those units and talked about extinction, or sorry, we talked about the extinction with Angelica and the anti-revenge with Renoa. So those have already started to impact this. Let's see how this balance patch is potentially going to change that moving forward. So the first person on our list of units that are going to get buffed is Faithless Litica. Litica is probably my most used unit in the game and one of my favorite units in the game, and I think one of the best units in the game. On the tier list that I just put out this past week, I had her at double S already, which ranks her somewhere between number 6 and number 10 in the game in terms of overall strength. Now, yes, that is PvP, it's not PvE, so early game players aren't going to like her. But that doesn't mean that she's not good just because early game players don't like her. She's not good in PvE for the most part. She's okay, I guess, but she's definitely not a PvE hero. She is PvP through and through. And a fair warning, most of this balance patch is for PvP because they are planning on putting out RTA regular season starting this month, so sometime in April. And that's kind of a big deal because I do think they want this to kind of play like an esport, similar to Summoners were. So I think they're trying to move in that direction, and they do want things to be balanced before that comes out. So that's what they're thinking about when they're making these changes. The big change on the Litica is this skill 3 Hysteria. Currently, that is supposed to say what it does. It's kind of bugged right now. Her skill description isn't there for some reason. I guess because they're changing it. It'll be interesting to see if they did that with all of them. But the skill 3 currently resets somebody's cooldown, and that's it. So if you attack into a Maid Chloe, say you're doing this on first turn, you've already stripped the Maid Chloe. Now you're coming into the skill 3, it resets her cooldowns to full. So for however many turns her cooldown is, she will not be able to use her revive. And that's the same with all units across the board. So that part of the skill stays the same, except now when she uses that skill, whenever she crits, mine currently is on crit rate. She happens to have a crit rate neck because I run her with CDOM, so it's not an issue for me. If you're not running her with CDOM, you will have to gear her with crit rate now if you want this skill to get the buff that you're hoping for. But when she crits, she's going to give AoE skill nullifier to your entire team. So this is the exact same thing as Fallen Cecilia. That's what it is. So you're getting skill nullifier on everybody. That means if you get countered by a Bellina, you're safe. You're not going to take any damage. If you get countered when you do this skill by Charles, he might still do his second part of his revenge, but the first part isn't going to do any damage to you. Say you're attacking a K-Ron team, you delete everybody on the team except for K-Ron. He's got his passive procced, and he procs. If you guys have ever watched my stream, you know he's going to proc a basket proc, get that greater attack buff, and he's going to skill 3, keep it, and then try and wipe your entire team. He can't do that anymore. You basically counter that as well. This takes a lot of the weaknesses out of Faithless Litica teams that was already really, really strong, and removes all the weaknesses, almost all of them. Basically, it makes your entire team tanky for a turn. So if you're facing a Bellina comp and you can kill the Bellina, what are they going to do to you now, right? Beyond that, I use her currently in she's my most used Guild War offense. She's my main arena offense. I'm currently rank 42 for the season in Legend Arena, and in RTA, she's my main RTA go-to team as well. So every single form of PvP, she's the center of all of those teams. And now with this buff, I feel like she's gonna get she's like top priority, and she's gonna get banned almost always now. This is a game changer for her. She was already double S. For her, we're gonna move her up to triple S. That puts her in one of the top 5 spots in terms of all the units in the game right now. She's insanely strong now. In terms of my personal RTA, I am actually kind of upset she's getting buffed because she's so good that people are going to try and pick her from me now. And also, she's most likely going to get banned. So, going to have to probably change my offense now a little bit just because they've made her too strong and people are going to know about it instead of letting me get away with it. So, that's going to be it for Faithless Litica. If you have her, congratulations. Let's move on to the next one. So the next person on the list is going to be Pavel. Now, I've already put out a video about Pavel. I will try and remember to, at the end of this video, have that be one of the little videos that pops up on the screen so you guys can take a look at it if you want to. But let's take a look at him. I don't have him rated overly high. I actually have him rated a B on my tier list from last week. But this buff is exactly what we've been looking for. So the problem with Pavel is what would normally happen, or what would currently happen, is you want to kill a Bellina. So you want to get the attack buff. You want to burn into him, first of all. And he's a ranger, which kind of sucks. So you don't have souls. So you have to bring a mage to burn into this. You have to... Oh, look, they actually don't have the skill description on this either. So all the units that are getting buffed currently don't have skill descriptions in the journal. Good job, Smilegate. So this, what happens is this gives him an attack buff currently. Let me read what it actually says. Currently, Stormbullet grants the caster increased attack for 2 turns before firing a strong blast of wind at all enemies. Damage dealt increases proportional to the caster's speed. So that's really nice. Speed-based damage dealer does okay damage, except it doesn't really do much damage. It does put up an attack buff, which is great, except it doesn't apply to that attack. So it's not really an AoE nuke, it's like AoE fluff damage. AoE fluff damage means that ML Ken's going to revenge. It means it's going to buff. It'll heal up on like Elena teams. Anybody with counter can now counter. It just triggers so many things that are really annoying before he can finally get his extra turn. So if they pick an ML Ken into you and you do this skill, you've burnt into it, but you're dead before you get a chance to do your skill 3 because you got revenge killed. And then you can skill 3 and try and kill the Bellina, except the skill 3 doesn't hit very hard. It's very weak in terms of damage. So now, thankfully they're buffing it. The Storm Bullet, which is the second skill, same skill, except this skill cannot trigger a counterattack. So similar to Litica's skill 2 and ML Tenebria's skill 1, using this AoE will not trigger a counterattack ever. Now, it still won't do great damage, but no counterattack, that's a big deal. That means now you can attack into an MLCan and then go after, not have to worry about getting revenge by anybody, and then be able to do your skill 3. Now, the nice thing is, at the very end, let me see, I didn't see if they did damage to the skill 2 as well. Yeah, so it's just the skill 3, but the skill 3 damage now, which is Destructive Pursuit, this one here, is going to be buffed by 25%. That's a lot. That's a big damage change, which means definitely he's going to be able to kill Seaside Bellinas now. So if you bring him into Bellina teams, he will nicely counter Bellina teams. Really nice buff. Now, keep in mind, though, if you have someone that goes before him, that will, his skill 2, even though it can't be revenged, will still trigger Bellina's revenge. So her revenge isn't really a revenge. It's she gets souls or whatever, and it stacks, and then eventually she just goes automatically. It's not considered a revenge. So if somebody's already gone once, and then he has to AoE and then skill 3, you're going to get revenged either way. Nothing you can do about it. Luckily, he is nature, so it's not too bad. But say you're running him with... maybe use my team for an example. You're using Litica and you're using Oxlots. If they ban the Oxlots and Litica goes skill 2, and then he goes skill 2, you're going to get revenged. If Oxlots goes into Pavel, you're safe. Because then it'll go Pavel into somebody else. So keep that in mind when you're using them. But that's a really nice buff right there. He'll actually be able to do what he's supposed to be able to do now. So that does provide us with a couple more Bellina counters. It's nice to see that Smilegate is at least addressing the issue in terms of, you know, the fact that Bellina is an issue and the fact that she's broken right now. So their plan is to not nerf her, but to bring other units around that can counter her and kind of try and change the meta that way, which I like. I think it's a good idea. And finally for him, I currently have him ranked a B post buff. I think this doesn't move him up too far. I don't think it makes him broken at all. Because it does counter the meta, I like that. So I think we're going to move him up to the A tier. We'll see how it plays in game. Maybe he gets moved up to S if he becomes super relevant. But for now, we'll move him up to the A tier and see how it goes. All right. Up next, another one of my favorite units. Pavel I don't use very often, but I did actually make a video using him against Bellina teams, and it did work. Problem is, you needed really good gear in order for it to work. But one of my favorite units in the game that nobody seems to like is Sigrid. And I don't understand why nobody likes her. She's one of the hardest hitting damage dealers in the entire game. She has insane damage. If you burn into her, she can take 3 turns already and delete 2 people automatically, because she'll go skill 2 into her skill 1, and then the burn lets her do her skill 3, which can basically delete anybody. She also has ignore defense. I mean, what more do you want from a unit like that? She can one-shot Wyvern. She's good in PvE. She's good in PvP. She's not widely used in Arena or RTA, but she's top tier in Guild War. I had her ranked at S for the tier list recently. Now, as I was doing the tier list, I was looking at it and I was like, maybe she doesn't deserve to be that high. Maybe she should be with Chloe and Luna and Kize. So I actually, post putting out the tier list, I edited the tier list to bring her down to the A rank because I agreed with your guys' feedback and thought she should be down at A. That being said, this buff, I think, brings her back to S tier. And so I'm going to leave the tier list the way it is. So what is happening now? Very simple change. This crazy strong skill 3 that does one-shot damage now has extinction. So another anti-revive mechanic, another anti-Vildred mechanic, another anti-Chloe, Ruel, Shooting Star Katie's, everybody mechanic. And now we have a water unit that does extinction, which is nice. Because before we had Spez, who was hard to obtain. and we had Lilibet. But if you wanted to extinct somebody that happened to be a fire unit, you were screwed because Lilibet couldn't do it. So now we have a water unit. Now we can counter all elements with extinction if we want to. And this skill hits so hard. If you have her, I promise you she'll be good. Don't hesitate to skill her up. Um, People still, for some reason, haven't built Lilibet, but everybody that has recently is like, oh my god, I can't believe I waited to skill up Lilibet. She's such a luxury in terms of taking out the current meta. This is the same thing, only stronger. She's better than Lilibet. She does probably more damage, and she can take 3 turns with her skill 1, so technically you could kill something and then use Extinction on Vildred right after. It's similar to, like, think with a BBK where you would try and kill the whole team, and then your extra turn would try and kill him. Same sort of idea, except against 2 people. This is just a lot better. You could delete 1 person and then use her skill 3 on someone else. If you do fluff damage first, you could potentially even kill like an Aureus tank or something first because her skill 2 is so strong. You'd have to have pretty good gear on her for that to work. But I'll definitely be re-gearing her and skilling her up because she's going to be really strong against the current meta. Beyond the fact she's water, adding that extinction is enormous. So, like I said, I currently have her S. I dropped her to A. I'm going to move her back to S because extinction is rare, first of all. And we have Lilibet at S, and we have Spez also at S, so she's got to move up with them. It definitely puts her in S tier. And then the next person on the list, another unit that I'm not really using right now, but another unit that's really strong. And she did recently get an exclusive equipment. That is not who it was. If you have Ravi, I'm sorry if I just tricked you into thinking she's getting one. But they decided to balance Firelytica as well. So we're going to see more Firelyticas now. Because she actually got 2 buffs. The first buff is this one, Thornbush, I believe. Yeah. Attacks all enemies with 100% chance to decrease hit chance for 1 turn before dispelling a buff, which is nice. They've now added to that heal block. So it's nothing huge, but AoE heal block with a strip is really nice against heal teams. I don't know how effective that's going to be, really. Wait, she didn't get an exclusive equipment. She just got the buff. I'm sorry. I said she got an exclusive equipment. She didn't. She just got this buff with the strip added to the skill 2, which is nice, but I don't know where you're going to use that heal block unless you just really need a heal block. She'll be really good against Kayron in Hall of Trials when you need that heal block, and it's with Rangers. She'll be great there. I think it's Rangers that needs the heal block. I can't remember, but she'll be really good there. But that's not the most exciting buff for PvP. That's probably more the most exciting buff for PvE because that also helps her be really good against Golem if you happen to farm Golem. The big one is her public execution. So you can't see this here, so I'm going to read it to you. Attacks the enemy with a whip, decreasing speed, making them unhealable for 2 turns. So she now has 2 heal blocks. Actually, no. My bad, I read that wrong. But anyway, this is how it is now. Making them unhealable for 2 turns and decreasing CR by 100%. Grants the caster skill nullifier, negating damage from next skill attack. Now, decreased buff durations by 1 turn is added. So now her skill 3 has a strip as well. It's single target, but say you're going up against somebody and they have immunity in PvP, this now will remove the immunity, then decrease the CR by 100%, and decrease speed for 2 turns, as well as granting skill nullifier. So basically what they did is they took the heal block from her skill 3, they moved it to the AoE skill 2, so her heal block is now AoE instead of single target, and she has a strip before she does her crazy skill 3. So really strong, much more usable in RTA or Arena or wherever now, because before people were using ML Silk, because ML Silk already strips first and then does this, but now she's able to do it as well. And if you didn't already know, Skrull has insane base speed, 124 base speed on Firelytic, so very easy to make fast and to take first turn. And although she doesn't have the boost with her skill 2, she does have the strip, so you could use her in conjunction with MLlytica as well if you want to. Currently, I have Firelytic at a B on this list. This definitely moves her up to an A. I don't think this makes her top tier, but it definitely moves her up 1 on the tier list. All right. Up next, everybody's favorite meme. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Wrong unit again. Sorry. Everybody's favorite meme. We have Xeno. So Xeno's getting a buff. I feel like it's deserved. I mean, he needs it, so can't complain about that. It's for this skill here, the skill 2. Increases defense and damage of Ancient Beast by 8% when the enemy uses a non-attack skill. Can attack up to 10 times. So the 10 is going to be reduced to 8. But the damage, the increase is going to be bumped as well. So it's going to be by 10% and effectiveness by 5% when an enemy uses a non-attack skill. It can be done up to 8 times. Still 80% total at max, but it also increases his effectiveness as time goes on, which I guess is helpful. And it stacks faster, which I guess is also helpful. I don't know if people use him really for this skill, or if people use him at all. So I don't think that's enough to make people use him. But we will see, I guess. And then up next, all they did was increase the land rate here. So this currently was maxed out at 70%. This has been bumped up to 80%, which is nice. Additionally, he'll also be given an increase in the defense and damage dealt when they already said that. I don't know about the defense part. I think that was supposed to be effectiveness, but I guess because of the stacks, it's going to allow him to do a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to make him usable. Honestly, I have him at D rank, and I'm going to keep him there. It's nice that the activation rate's higher. It's nice that it stacks faster, but he still doesn't really have much of a use. So we're going to leave him there. And then finally, the final unit on the list is actually the only non-Nat 5. Still with water, however. Oh no, wait. Not with water. I was wrong. I don't know why I thought he was a water unit. There he is. I happen to have him, so maybe we'll build him up. I don't know if his buff is enough to be build worthy or not, but let's take a look. So Mana Arrow, which is his skill 1, currently attacks the enemy with concentrated mana with a 35% chance to activate Mana Burst. The Mana Burst attacks all enemies, decreasing CR by a random amount between 10 and 20%. The way they're changing this, 10 and 50%, that's a big difference between 10 and 20. So between 10 and 50. Now what they're doing is the effect chance of doing this, the extra skill, is now doubled if the target is silenced. So if you've used skill 3 first, skill 3 has an AoE silence on it. If you've used skill 3 and they're silenced, and then you skill 1, you now have a 70% chance to activate the Mana Burst, which can decrease the attack bar. That's actually really strong. So yeah, because it's a 2-turn silence and 75% chance to silence. So is this on here? It doesn't say. So yeah, 75% chance to silence with skill 3, sorry. This one. Mana Fundamentals. 75% chance to silence, and then if they're silenced, now can do an AoE attack bar reduction with skill 1. So maybe you could try and find a way to combo that into an extra turn and then do the reduction. Could be really big. What's his burn? Okay, so burn makes it 100%. That makes his burn terrible because it's already 70% if there's a silence. It'd be good if there isn't one, but his burn's not very good. But that's actually solid. That makes him good. It make him good in a CC comp if you want to run a CC comp. Also, you could run other things that silence and just make it so that activates all the time instead of just when he lands silence. So I like that. That's a nice buff for Roman. Currently, I don't have him very high on the list. I currently have him at a C. This actually is a pretty big buff, so I think we're gonna move him up all the way from C up to an A rank. Possible he moves back down to B, depending on his usability. But I think for now we'll move him up to A and see what happens. That is going to be it for the buffs for today, guys. These buffs are going to take place in 2 weeks, so you have 2 weeks to prep for them. We did just have the patch, so April 16th, balance adjustment. I wouldn't be surprised if that's when RTA comes out as well. They have been doing their big updates every other week, so it'll either be that day or it will be 2 weeks following that on April 30th. Those are the two most likely dates that RTA will be out. Either way, I hope you guys are hyped. A quick recap, we got Pavel, Sigrid, Litica, Xeno. I think both Litica buffs are huge. The Faithless Litica buff is outrageous. I can't believe they buffed her. I think that's going to be probably, maybe not the most changing, but because Sigrid's also really big. I think the Sigrid change, you're going to see her a lot more in PvP now. And the Faithless Litica change are probably the two most impactful on the meta. But great news, they did make two things that now deal with revives and a Vildred with Angelica, ML Angelica, and now Sigrid. And they did do two things that are going to help deal with Balanon in Roanna and Pavel. So nice changes. They are at least acknowledging that the most broken units in the game are the most broken units in the game and are giving us ways to counter them, which is really nice. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys all next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day. Bye for now.